Today we're gonna make this cake. It's a cake about nothing really, with a story behind it. It's a pretty simple cake, it's beautiful, and it's the perfect cake for an adult. Hi friends, my name is Sherry Ray, and this is Every Cake Tells a Story. My goal is to help you build skills, gain confidence, and love others through cake art, or as I like to say, spread love like icing. I also share the background information and inspiration behind every cake. The general overview of today's cake is that I wanted to make a geometric cake, and then I saw this image. Then I was spurred on by Jerry Seinfeld, so stick around to find out more details. My colors originated from this red, white, and blue, and I prepped all the colors I needed for the squares before starting the cake. I combined some of the dark blue with red to get purple, and added white to get various shades of purple. I did the same with blue, but the blue seemed too bright for what I wanted, so I lined up the blues and purples and combined them to get another complementary color in between. Then I worked the purple down with a little light pink I made from that deep red. I love these colors. Once they were done, I covered the cake with fondant to get that clean, smooth look I was going for. Then it was time to start cutting squares. I sprinkled some powdered sugar and rolled out some fondant nice and thin. I didn't have the right size square cutter that I needed, and I knew it would be really hard to uniformly cut all of the squares I was gonna need. I searched and searched my kitchen for a tool I could use. Nothing. And then my hero husband came to the rescue. He came home with a brand new metal grate. I just cleaned up the edges, and it was the perfect makeshift tool. The only thing is, it didn't cut all the way through no matter how hard I pushed on it. I ended up using it just to score my lines and went back in with my pizza cutter. Perfect. Fast forward, and I had so many squares in lots of different colors, and I was ready to go. I planned it out on the counter before putting it on the cake. It started to look so cool, I was getting excited. From here, it was a simple matter of adding a bit of water to the back of each square to glue it on and positioning it in place. Oh yeah, and I needed a bit of patience to slowly get them all in place. I finished one side and then did it all again to cover the whole cake. Here's where I thought it was all done. It's so beautiful and elegant, and then Seinfeld. In the episode, George, who's always trying get-rich quick schemes, buys $1,900 of triangle art from a sick artist, which of course he assumes will bring him the big bucks if the artist dies. I needed a Seinfeld-inspired cake topper, so I added Tylose powder to my fondant to help it dry quickly. Then I opened up some bag clips to use as spacers when I rolled out my fondant. I made some squares in Word to use as a template and just cut around them. Sometimes fondant likes to stretch as you cut it. In addition to the Tylose powder, you can avoid this by popping it in the fridge or letting it sit on the counter for a bit to dry. Then you can cut it without it stretching out of shape. The pizza cutter also helped it to keep from stretching too much, but of course I couldn't use that in the center. I made a few thinner pieces too. After they hardened up, I was able to push the big square down into the cake. This purple square was the main piece, and the rest accented it. Then I used all the other pieces to adorn the cake. I used royal icing to glue these all in place. I keep small zippies of it in my freezer and pull out bags as needed because I don't like the taste of royal icing and I really only use it as glue. I typically only need a small amount, so I just snip the end of my zippy and use it as a makeshift icing bag. I love Seinfeld, and I remember before I started watching the show, my coworkers were talking about it, and I piped in, yeah, I don't like that show because all they're ever doing when I flip past it on the TV is sitting in the coffee shop talking. They're never doing anything. They laughed hysterically. I kept asking, what did I say that's so funny? And they would just laugh even harder then. And they kept asking me, have you really never seen the show? Like they didn't believe me. I hadn't. Of course, years later, when I started watching the show, I came upon the episodes where the show mocks itself. They created a storyline where we go to NBC to pitch a show about nothing. I remembered my coworkers laughing hysterically, and I was finally in on the joke. I got it. Even this episode with the triangle art has plenty of boring everyday things that are hysterical, and it works perfectly. Check it out.
Roy, this is Kramer. He's one of our friends.
How do you do?
Yeah, I do great.
Hi, Roy.
Oh, hey, Dr. Siegel. Hey, Doc. Check this out. Hey, I just learned that.
Yeah, it's a show about nothing, but it's hilarious. Okay, enough silliness though. We need to get back to the cake. Then I was able to finish it off with a border. I rolled out a long snake, plopped some icing at the bottom, and just tucked it in. I finished it off at the same place my fondant had a little crack. Here's the thing, every cake has a back. This was meant to be the back, and I also meant to cover it with squares, but I didn't plan it out right, and it ended up being the side. It's also the place where there are the fewest squares. My planning was off of it. Here's my cake, my squares cake, my geometric cake, my cake about nothing, or rather my homage to Seinfeld. By the way, if you'd like to buy $1,900 worth of square cake art from me, I'd be happy to make it for you. I'd even give you a discount and give it to you for $1,850. If you're enjoying this video, go ahead and hit that like button so others will find it too. Could I interest you in a junior mint? This is a really simple, fun cake to make, and it's beautiful with or without the cake topper. Oh, one last tidbit about this cake is I ended up making it for an acquaintance, and I had considered calling her husband, asking what her favorite color is, and then decided to just trust God that it would be a blessing to her no matter what. When I gave it to her, her husband happened to mention that purple is her favorite color. How cool is that? Talk about spreading love like icing, right? All right, if you want to see another simple cake design I made, click right here, and I'll see you over there. Bye, friends.